Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of RN Cliff Notes. Well, we decided to bring this conversation outside. And today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. We're going to talk about pulseless electrical activity. PEA, pulseless electrical activity. Wow. First let me start before I share this story. Pulseless electrical activity used to be called EMD, electromechanical disassociation. Let's think about that for just a minute and compare the two. Electro, right? The electrical aspect of the heart, and then mechanical. So the mechanical pumping action of the heart. And then that last part was what? Disassociation. So those two aspects of the heart weren't working together. Similarly, PEA, pulseless electrical activity. Now, first off, let me ask you, right? You know how we do, all right? So, an emergency situation with an adult, where are we feeling for the pulse? And you say, fantastic, that's right. What? The carotid for adults. How about for an infant? And you say what? Okay, good, right? We need to check for that and the brachial aspect. Okay, fantastic. All right, moving on. So, as we say, pulseless, right? They don't have a pulse that we can feel, right? But then there's electrical activity. Man, I read about this in nursing school, but when it happened on the job, it was mind-blowing. And so what I want to do is share that with you today. And hopefully you can hear me good. And my neighbors are starting to wake up and cars are like in the background and all these other things. That's all right. Okay, so here's how it goes. I got out of the Navy and I became a contractor working on base. And it was a great job. Doing a lot of conscious sedation. And that's like my favorite thing to do. I mean, you really see some exciting things when you're doing conscious sedation, right? So you're working in a clinic, like a GI clinic or a radiology clinic, same day surgery kind of procedures. That stuff is awesome, you hear me? Okay, so anyway, you give Versed, you give fentanyl to get the patient into a twilight sleep to where they're comfortable getting the surgery done. Okay, and this particular day, I'm working in a separate suite from another nurse. And that nurse is having a rough day with the doctor. You know, I mean, we all have bad days. But the point I want to get across as we're recording this is I want to make sure that you don't become the kind of nurse, right? Or the kind of intern or medical assistant or patient care technician, the kind of person who merely executes the orders that were given by the doctor. Part of our task as healthcare professionals is we need to challenge what the doctor's ordering if it's inappropriate, but we do that in a professional way, okay? All right, so on this day, as I said, the nurse is having a difficult time with the doctor. We all have bad days. So, patient came down into the suite. Part of the disturbing part of this case is the patient was fairly young. I mean, you could tell her hair had just been done. Her nails were done. I mean, with little, kanji things on them. I mean, little designs. I mean, this stuff was pretty. But she was full of fluid. And I want you to take note of that. Her body was full of fluid. She was just overloaded, okay? So if you happen to feel on her extremities or touch her body, it almost felt like you were touching a water bottle that was like filled to the point where it felt like it was about to burst, right? So touching her, it did not feel normal at all, completely full of fluid. That's an important note, and we're going to come back to that. Okay? So I hear from the suite that I'm in, preparing for my patients, I can hear the doctor yelling at the other nurse, And What the doctor was upset about is he's trying to access her femoral artery, right? And as he's trying to access that femoral artery, that's a very small space that he's trying to access here in the groin. So the got the lady situated on the gurney, and the doctor's attempting to access, right? And she's covered up with the blue sterile drape, and there's a little hole there where he can access her femoral artery in a sterile sense. Well, he can't get to it because the patient keeps moving, right? So we say to the nurse, she's still moving, give her more medicine, right? Meanwhile, you can tell he's clearly frustrated, you know what I mean? When they have on the sterile gowns, they can't touch anything. So they tend to fold their sterile gloves and everything onto the sterile gown itself. So, as he said, she needs more medicine. She's still moving. Oh, more medicine. She's still moving, right? This particular nurse, her thing was to keep the doctors happy. You have to watch out for that, right? And sometimes you need to pull the doctor aside and have a professional conversation. And this was one of those days. So, she's still moving. Give her more medicine. She got to the point where she had given all of the fentanyl she had in her cart. Now, mind you, we keep at least 3 ampules of fentanyl. There was probably more in there. I mean, you know, we're estimating on the low side. 3 ampules. Now, when we say an ampule of fentanyl, we're talking about a glass ampule. It's a little brown one, right? Because you don't want the fentanyl to be exposed to light. So you're looking at a little brown or tan-looking glass ampule, and in that ampule is 100 micrograms of fentanyl. I mean, that 100 micrograms, one of those ampules is enough to carry you through a case, right? You have to really be cautious with that stuff. It's super strong, and unfortunately, that's what we're seeing out in the street today. People are amping up their Oxycontin and things like that with fentanyl. They don't know what they're dealing with. And that's why they're looking to arm officers with Narcan. But anyway, so she comes next door to my suite to borrow some of the fentanyl that I have in my car. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. I mean, this is early in the day. You should have at least 3 ampules in there, if not like 5, right? And you have emptied them all out in this one case? And now you need to borrow some from my side? I'm like, whoa, okay. I'm like, okay, you know. Then that piques my curiosity, and I got to go check this out. What the heck is going on? As I get over there, and you know, things are starting to get bad. Wow, I mean, patient's pulse is dropping, respiration is dropping, and basically, she's probably got too much of that fentanyl, and especially on board. Not to mention the Versed. So the code blue gets called. So, attention all staff, code blue, first floor. Attention all staff, code blue, first floor. Wow. And being that this was a training facility, there was, I mean, it's like a sea of lab jackets came into the suite. And it was so many people responding to that code blue that as I was attempting to help with the code blue, I couldn't actually get to and from the crash cart to get the meds that I needed without having to crawl on the floor. And this is, I am not making this up. I had to crawl on the floor on my hands and knees to get from the patient to the crash cart and try to get the next medication that was ordered. Total chaos, right? There's doctors yelling things. It's like, we need epi, no, atrophy, this is zip, right? Just back and forth. And then one doctor out of the crowd goes, everybody shut up. I'm the cardiothoracic surgeon on duty. I'm taking charge of this code. Wow. And later videos, we'll talk about leadership styles. And man, let me tell you, I don't particularly care for the autocratic, you know, one person makes all decision leadership style, but man, that is a circumstance where it came in handy. I mean, that saved the day. After he said that, wow, now I can get back and forth because we've established who's in charge, and there's not a whole lot of people reaching over. I can get back and forth to the car. So that was like fantastic. So as I'm going back and forth to the car, giving the meds, resume chest compressions, things like that. All right, and of course somebody's documenting everything. In the end, the very disturbing end, I must say, this PEA. Wow. Like I said, I read about it, but it wasn't until it happened that day. All right? We're sitting there, and when the doctor says, okay, all right, guys, time of death, 9 o'clock, right? Thank you all for supporting. And these guys are putting on their lab jackets and walking out. And you look over at the EKG, and the machine is still beeping. You know, it just beep. And it's not as consistent as it should be. Beep. Beep. It is a very disturbing sound to hear, and have the doctors and nurse practitioners and everybody else, they're exiting and leaving you behind with the patient. And the nurse that was taking care of the patient at the time, she was inconsolable. The manager took her to the office. So I'm left in there with the patient's body, and everybody has exited. And there are packages everywhere. I mean, epinephrine boxes torn to shreds, right? Atropine boxes torn to shreds, right? Just, I mean, you name it, IV bags. It looked like a little medical war zone. But that disturbing sound, that beep in the background, and I'm looking at the patient, it's like, oh my God, I'm trying to do like a last minute assessment. It's just blowing my mind that everybody's leaving and there's still activity on the EKG monitor. And so I have to take her to the morgue, and as a part of the policy, you're not supposed to remove too many of the things because they may want to investigate. So you got to leave some things in place. But I am disconnecting the EKG. And that right there, right? Her tracing is still going on the EKG. So she has died. She has no pulse whatsoever. But her SA node still, we can do it, right? Oh man, so heavy. And so you reach over, take that off, and that's when she flatlines. That's when she goes in a system. Bam, right? No readout. Bam. Nothing. But then, if you reattach it, what? Holy moly, there's the electricity again. It's like, I got to wheel this person to the morgue whose heart's trying her SA notice. But she's legally dead. So that's it, guys. PEA, right? And now, what I want to add to this is this. When we talk about that PEA, what you need to realize is that the medications to help that patient out, right, is in the spelling of PEA itself. So we said at first, what? Pulseless electrical activity. But if your patient's pulseless, this is what you need to realize. That if they're pulseless, EA, you're going to be medicating them with epinephrine and atropine. So PEA again, epi and atropine. Hey, I want to thank you guys for joining me. All right? Study smart.